Hello, I am with you, Liv, again, and the topic of our today's broadcast is life after death. One of my tasks is to share with people knowledge on this continuous, multidimensional, multifaceted process, the process of life after death. The existence of afterlife is being widely discussed today. There have been created energy measuring devices, including even one measuring the soul weight. This means there are a lot of things that really tell us about the secrets and mysteries of afterlife nowadays. Our today's broadcast is dedicated to this process. You can submit your questions even now, because I'm sure today there will be a lot of questions on this topic. And I will try to pass you all the knowledge to tell absolutely everything about this wonderful process of life after death. You might wonder, how come it is a wonderful process, and yet it is, and if a person could remember his state of life after death and realize this, then no one living this life would be afraid of death. On the contrary, each person would be ready for this wonderful process of being. And in order for it to be beautiful for most people, for all people, you need to live this life the right way. And this life actually tells us about a person's life in a different state of consciousness, in a different state after leaving here. I really love this topic. It is very interesting for me. It is very exciting. It is wonderful for me. And indeed, if you could only see these spaces, these worlds, these realities, of which there are a huge number, where people who lived here in this world live, their souls, subtle bodies. If you could see all this, realize, and personally experience these states, you would never be afraid of death. But unfortunately, only now man is taking the path of evolution and the path of spiritual development. And thanks to this, of course, the topic of an afterlife is explored in more depth. My friends, for many people, experiencing a loved one's departure while remaining in this dimension may come at a cost far greater than depression, and a lot of people just go crazy. And I can tell you from my experience that sometimes a person comes to me absolutely mad. A person's suffering might be so great, it saps them of their very life force, throwing them in even deeper sorrow and longing for those people who have left this world. Indeed, many people come to me in a deeply disturbed mental state. And when I look at these people, I am very sorry that they have worked themselves into such a state. You know, my friends, once upon a time, many years ago, having known about an afterlife, and quite a lot actually, I had a deep inner realization that I had to teach people to communicate with souls who left this world. I knew it was possible. I could do it myself, and I saw how wonderful it was, how it removed the boundaries between these worlds. Well, you know, we can say that you seem to live in this country, and your loved one who left this country lives in another country. And you have the opportunity to go abroad to visit them, but only in a different state, in a state in which you will once get to this country as well. And so many people could learn to achieve this state, though not everyone, since many people can no longer do this. But then all these states of grief, regret, tears, despair, and so on would disappear altogether. I'm doing this now. I'm trying to reveal to people these possibilities and abilities, but unfortunately I understand that many people are not ready for this. Many people are not even ready to hear what I'm saying now. A lot of people. Many people who became a cog in the machine, the administrative machine of this planet, would never even be able to realize it in this life. They cannot come to this. It's a pity, but it's a fact. Unfortunately, it is true. So, my friends, what happens after death? Now I will try to explain it to you in human language, but still I can tell you that it is impossible to tell it completely accurately. Why? Because the state into which a deceased person is immersed, not a deceased, but one who has passed into another dimension. The state depends directly on the state in which he leaves this world. You are actually energy, the energy that experiences different states. Do you hear? You are energy that experiences different states. And when a person leaves his body, he goes through the processes of living, transforming his state. That means he goes through the processes of adaptation and continues to live in the state in which he lived here. But in these worlds, in those worlds to which he himself belongs by his inner state, he collides with that still incomprehensible process. What will happen next? Who will meet me there? And what are these entities? And what are these personalities? What do they want from me? Where do I need to go next? What should I do now? And now a person who has passed into this other world has passed into another space. He adapts in a new way to a new life, to a new state of being, where he begins to face such processes that he did not collide here, living in this dense space. What processes? He is faced with the fact that all his thoughts, all his experienced feelings and states instantly recreate the manifested realities for him. And now, without time, in a timeless state, he is simultaneously in this state and at that visible reality, visible space which his state immediately creates for him, and naturally emotions that he can feel. Then if he changed them and realized that he himself forms his reality and creates a different state for himself, better or worse, right away reality unfolds at the level that he is aware of, what he feels and what he is experiencing. In general, my friends, I can tell you even easier. If an embittered person, an envious person, a hateful person, a person who takes offense at the whole world, a person who curses everyone and everything, a person who is destructive, leaves this world, he immediately finds himself in the same destructive state of space, where there are the same destroyers like him, and they in turn have already created their own worlds of destruction, and this person, having his own state of destruction, falls into their space, because they enter into resonance. Their subtle bodies, their consciousness, enter into one resonance and correspond to each other. Therefore, all difficult people, complicated people, hateful people, Egoists are people whom difficult spaces are waiting for, whom very difficult conditions are waiting for. And when a person falls into this low vibrational state, he continues his processes of torment. Nothing changes. My friends, nothing happens to a person. After all, do not forget that all these low vicious states tormented this person here. These are programs of the ego, which turns into an entity, and sometimes a person has several of these entities. And these essences drag a person into the space into which he himself belonged with his consciousness, experience, and state. And there they continue to torture him further, continue to mock him further. That is, the person continues the state of his torment. There is no relief. Do you understand? If people would only realize this, if they could saw it at least sometimes, if they just were allowed to see it, sometimes they dream about it. This is how they are shown this veil of being. Then many people would rethink their life and their behavior in this life. But unfortunately, now the world is going through a very difficult stage of spiritual formation, selection, and further process. It is very difficult for people at the present time, and I understand that all these difficulties are their internal states, which they will take with them, which means they will be immersed in these difficult conditions of life. And only those people who nevertheless realized the value of their being, the value of their life, people who realized their unity with everyone, people who do a lot of good on earth and love everyone and everything and wish all that they would like to have for themselves, they are people who are awaited by other wonderful realities. What's in these realities? My friends, there is a very beautiful nature. Where is it from there, you ask? It was created by the minds and souls of those people who left earlier. And due to the fact that these kind and good people can fall into resonance with these also good kind souls who lived before, they get into their world and they see the beauties that they have created with their consciousness. You may ask, so how is it? Can we build houses there and do something else? Yes, my friends, because everything consists of consciousness. And when a developed, kind, pure and good person leaves this world, he sees that any of his beautiful thought immediately creates a wonderful appearance and space. And he experiences, realizes and feels, very sharply feels all these processes at once. I'll tell you more, friends. The sensitivity of both those people who are in a bad state and those who are in a good reality increases many times over. In principle, the process of life and being in these dimensions, in these spaces, is built only on your feelings, on your sensations, and on your state. But here in this space, a person is distracted by one or the other things, and his nerve centers and states have become coarse. They dull this state of feeling a little. And when a person leaves this world, the nervous system no longer exists, but there is a release of consciousness, which possesses superpowers and super abilities, which is intelligent energy, of which everything consists. So his thinking, or rather his awareness, His feeling instantly transforms the state of consciousness and the energy of the state of consciousness into the visible space. You see how difficult it is for me to tell you, to convey to you that which is inexplicable here in this fourth dimension. Why? Because there is no such state in this dense dimension that a human experiences after leaving this dimension, this space. Everything is different there. Time does not exist there. That is, there is just one process. How can this be understood? Imagine that there is such an owl and sheets of paper are pinned on it, on which different realities are written. And you strung these sheets on this needle, a lot of realities on top of each other. And they are all very tightly strung together. They exist simultaneously. This is how you can describe the state of space into which a person moves after his death. That is, he has everything at the same time, and he doesn't feel the time. He simply makes a choice from these layers, from these realities, and simply experiences one or the other of them, depending on how spiritually he was developed here, how intellectual he was, how sociable he was, and so on. This means if he was an interesting person here, then he will be interesting there, in that space. Why am I talking about this? In order to induce humanity to think about their life, about how each of us lives. What is he doing at the moment in his life? Because everything that you create now, you weave for yourself that canvas of life, that carpet on which you will rest then, after this life. Do you understand? And if you have created a lot of destruction for yourself, for others, then your carpet will be hard, prickly. It will be bad because all this has created a reality for you in another dimension. Do you understand this now? Everything that you do, that you think here, at a subtle level, at the level where souls go after death, this is reality. This is your choice of reality. This is the all on which you strung these sheets layers of realities. And then when you leave this world, you dive into all this and you will live in it. Do you understand this? My friends, there are so many films about this. I won't even waste time on it now. There are many books, documentary evidence that there is this life after death. And notice that all people talk about similar processes, but they are different for everyone. Why? Because your lives are also different. You are all different. You all have created the process that you have created, and you all created it in different ways. Therefore, everyone will have their own process of transition into life after death. What else would I like to say? I can also say that getting into this or that dimension, human souls having a pure consciousness, pure energy, nevertheless strive to purify themselves from this earthly, dirty life, and yet they strive for a better state to which they could come. What happens to those souls who leave this space with a heavy burden, with a hard condition, in a state of torment, pain, and in intolerable state? My friends, these people find themselves in difficult spaces, it's true. But there they go through a stage of rehabilitation, that is, certain stages of the disintegration of these illusory, subtle states that they experienced here take place. For example, a person lives in a state of pain, that is, he created a painful body for himself. He created for himself a painful astral, tormenting shell with which he lives. Yes, he may not feel physical pain after living, but the pain is internal, the pain of the soul remains. And now he needs to go through this stage of rehabilitation. There he needs to understand and realize his new ability to create a new clean space. This is obtained by those people who immediately understand that his every thought instantly creates reality. If there is a person here who was in pain and he thought, I'm poor, unhappy, have pity on me, and everyone is bad and I'm unhappy, help me quickly, everyone owes me, and so on, then there he realizing that his thought will continue to form such a reality and his torment, he begins to control his state and his thoughts. That is, he once thought badly and saw such a reality, the second time, third, tenth, and he understands that he continues to suffer in this space. And then he begins to become aware of these processes. How? What does he start to do? As a rule, such people begin to appeal to spiritual personalities. If you don't see them here in this dimension, then you will immediately see them there. If a person invokes, if he realized that living here he was the creator of evil and pain for his body, and even continues it, having passed in this state to another world, if he realized and understood this, the state immediately changes. Instantly, the person really internally changes his position, and he is helped there. They adapt him, and so to speak, they purify him from this anger, from this pain. That is, there are helpers who are guides. They always meet the souls of such people and help them adapt to this space. But this is not the end. Having climbed a step higher into a lighter dimension, a person can realize his mistakes there too, the mistakes of his thinking and his feeling, and realize himself in a completely different way. He will rise one step higher, and already living in a certain dimension, having settled there for a long time, and a person stays in the nether world on average from 500 to 1000 Earth years. He already continues to create his reality. Having adapted, getting used to that beautiful high dimension, he is waiting for the souls of his loved ones. And when loved ones come, they will definitely meet them, accompany, tell, help, and do everything in order for a person to settle down there, and settle down as quickly as possible. But that's not all, my friends. I can tell you one more thing, and remember this for centuries. A person whose soul doesn't want to die, under no circumstances will die. If the soul wants to stay in this dimension, if it has not yet acquired that experience and has not completed the task with which it came, the person will not die. Even if he dies under some circumstances, he still comes back to life. People call it resurrection even after a few days, and there are more and more such cases now. That is, if the soul doesn't want to die, it will not die. But if she wants to do it, you will not do anything. Your soul will find a way, it will find an opportunity to leave this body. And now let's talk about what makes people do it. At a young age, at an advanced age. What makes the soul leave this body? This body. My friends, you come here accompanied by highly developed beings who are also going through a stage of evolution here on this planet. Your souls, as a living energy state of the Creator Himself, have a higher spiritual task and nature. They come here having already set themselves a task, having a plan. When a little man incarnates, when he is born, he is already assigned what you call destiny, and his soul will choose such processes of reality to fulfill this plan. But this planet of unspiritual people, this is a planet where egoism reigns and dominates, where the mind rules, with which a person identifies himself, where the rude, hard, and cruel intellect rules everything. And people identify themselves with this. In this case, the soul cannot fulfill the mission, the task with which it came. And spiritual persons from above, seeing this, help such a soul. They, seeing that a person is going out of his way, begin to show through illness that his life is wrong. For example, when legs hurt, this means a person lives the wrong life. It means that a person does not do something, a person did not manage to do something. He went the wrong way. He doesn't fulfill what his soul came with. Or if a person's digestive tract organs hurt, it says that a person is very attached to material things, has a lot of fears that there will be no money, that there will be no welfare, something will be stolen, etc. This is the fear of losing material things. These people will definitely have digestive system diseases, which can lead to a state of death. In this case, if diseases already appear, this indicates that the person has gone down the wrong path, that he is doing something wrong, living wrong. And these diseases are evidence that a person needs to realize and correct this quickly. And a huge number of beings are ready to help him in this. Then people recover and evolve further. I tell you this from the experience of my students. When this happens, a person really recovers very quickly, and new realities of life open up to him. But that's not all. You see, my friends, having reached a certain state of awareness, a certain state of understanding, right behavior and right life, fulfilling your mission, it is very important to resist. In a world where the system is destructive and illusory, completely possesses society and people, we must resist among those who are insane, among those who are under the influence of alcohol and drugs, to stand among those who only bring destruction to this planet and consider spiritually developed people as insane people, although they themselves are insane. Try to resist, and it's not easy. And sometimes it happens that a person understood and realized and then fell again. And even if he fell, there is always a chance to rise. Always. People are given, situations are formed for this person. Space and spiritual personalities help such people rise again and reach a certain level. And everything always depends on the person, how much he will be able to resist and rise, or will not succeed. Do you understand? And when the soul already sees that the person does not want to work, he does not want to strive, he has fallen, he is weak, he says, I don't want to live, I don't want to be here, then the soul chooses the process of leaving this space. You know, friends, I'm not just telling you this now, but I'm telling you examples of people I know, people who are no longer in this space. They managed to rise, but then society, circumstances still lowered them. And when I talked with them before they left, they said, you know, I don't want to live anymore. I simply don't want. Children don't understand me. They don't listen to me, don't respect me. My husband does not respect me. He doesn't listen to me. He lives his life. He excruciates me for money. He is constantly discontent with me and treats me like an animal. I don't want to be in this world anymore. And you know, such people, understanding the truth, simply choose to leave this world. If they wanted to live, their souls would like to live, they would stay to live. And such people live in this world, knowing the truth, find themselves in cleaner spaces, having passed the stage of rehabilitation. But this rehabilitation is very fast because they realize, understand that death really doesn't exist. But there is another state of life, eternal life. And such people feel lightness, and of course, they rejoice in those worlds. The people who were engaged in spiritual development here in this space feel so wonderful. They are happy people who are just living wonderful, perfect lives there. It seems to them that this is a heaven, a heavenly state. Although paradise is very far away, their state of consciousness is so wonderful that it is very pleasant for them to be in that dimension. And many of them transmit messages through me to people who have remained in this dimension, in this space. They ask, don't cry, I feel very good, I feel great, I am very calm here, I am surrounded by my loved ones, my dear people, I settled down here very well. That is, they want to convey their emotions so that people who remain in this dimension do not grieve and cry, but simply live their life and the right life. Sometimes, my friends, people say to me, you know, everything here is really as you said, as you told me. Indeed, everything in this world happens in this way. A lot of people that I knew, people who left this dimension, this world, they all really talk about how is very good and beautiful there. My friends, I'm sure there will be many questions today, therefore I'm ready to answer your questions. Therefore, Sergei Arkadyevich, read out the most interesting and most pressing questions that interest many people. Good evening. There are really a lot of questions today. Let's start, as always, with a question from Victor from Dnipro. Good evening, Natalia Vladimirovna. Good evening, friends. My question is, can a spiritual person in new energies choose the form of transition to another world on his own and live like Melchizedek, like Casey, like people living in meditation or in sleeping? And what is needed for this? Can this transmission process be fully conscious? Thank you. And I thank you for such a wonderful question. Of course, it can be so, and the task of a spiritual person to achieve this state, living this body consciously. Then, in a conscious state, he goes into a conscious space, where the same conscious, good, right people, souls live. And then he will pass in the state of the Creator, in the state of the spiritual personality. But in relation to Melchizedek, you see, Melchizedek was a person who is still present in the subtle dimensions of the planet, in the seventh dimension of this planet. There is this person who was not a human. He just created a physical body for a certain period of his life and came here as a teacher in order to create a certain spiritual direction. He raised many learners. These learners dispersed to different countries, and there they created spiritual schools. This was 1943 years before Jesus came to this planet. Almost 4,000 years ago there was such a person. He is now the acting planetary prince of this planet, and in the future, in all likelihood, he will be appointed the planetary prince of this planet. I think this will happen when the planet is recognized in the era of light and life. He still needs to prove to the spiritual higher forces, although he himself is a highly developed person, to prove his loyalty, dedication, and correctness of his work. This means to develop the planet to a very high spiritual level, and then he will be appointed the planetary prince of this planet. In the meantime, he is acting planetary prince and working on this planet. Regarding Casey, it was a different process, my friends. It was a merger with a spirit personality, with that higher self, with the thought adjuster, with that part of the Creator himself that spiritual people have, spiritually evolving people. These are higher shells of God. Not all people have adjusters, only spiritually evolving or aspiring people have. And when a person reaches a certain high level, unity with this personality, the discovery of this personality in the consciousness and life of such a person, then the human body simply disappears. It transforms into light. A flash of light occurs and a person is transported to other planets, to other worlds, and to other states. My friends, you know, many people ask me the question, what will happen next? This cannot be said in general. Then there will be what should be with each person. It's different for everyone. It all depends on the plan of a person's soul. If he wants to come to this planet again, he will come. If he thinks that's enough, I'm tired, then this person will go to the mentioned worlds, to other more advanced planets, where already as a spiritual, divine being, God-man, will continue the stage of his further evolution, further development. After all, evolution on this planet begins for humanity, but it ends in paradise. This whole creative process of reality is indeed multidimensional and multifaceted, but also not for everyone, because there are different levels of development. Some people believing in something, for example in spirit, and generally not realizing that there is an adjuster and the nature of the Creator Father in them, do not identify themselves with this. They develop towards the nature of the Mother Spirit, or they develop towards the nature of the Paradise Son, but they don't unite with the Paradise Trinity, with the triune state of being. This means they only choose one aspect of the Creator and identify themselves with it. Naturally, the evolutionary process of such people will be different. You see, the topic we are covering today is very multifaceted. As multifaceted as the versatility of people, worlds, and the versatility of states. This is how versatility exists. Thank you. Next question. Irina from Khabarovsk asks, Good evening, Natalia Vladimirovna. I have heard many times that the soul can be begged. Is this really so, and how can it be done? Hello, my star that shines around the world. Yes, Ira, souls must be begged. I would even say so. We need to help. Sometimes a person, a human soul, finds himself in such a difficult, terrible space that they cannot get by without it. Sometimes a person lives such a vicious, terrible life on earth that hell awaits him, which he created here on earth. He created it for himself, for others, and he takes this hell with him. He goes to this hell and exists in this hell. Therefore, such souls should be begged. What do we have to do? In general, how should we relate to those people who left this world? We need to recollect the most pleasant moment of life. We need to send them love. It is necessary for the people who have remained here to ask the guardian seraphim, which they also have, only they are at a distance until their souls realize their vices and quit them. It is necessary to ask the angels to grant them states of understanding and awareness there in those worlds where they are, and to help them and save them. And as soon as they are ready, spiritual personalities immediately arrive and pull out the souls of such people from difficult spaces and difficult dimensions. All beings, perhaps except for humanity itself, want good for you. Every being is doing everything for your good. Only a human does everything to make him feel bad here. This is a paradox. That is, the entire cosmos takes care of a human, except for the human himself. I thank you for your question. It's already very late for you, and you are watching our streaming. I send you my energy and my love. I love you, Ira. Hold on, be strong. Next question. Marina from Rivne asks, please tell us how to bury the body of a person who leaves this world properly. There are different options in the modern world. For example, in Italy, people resort to cremation and leave ashes in their homes. How does this energy affect or can affect those in this house? Thanks. What a worldly person doesn't come up with for some of his incomprehensible processes. My friends, the connection with the body is completely interrupted if a person dies in time, lives on time, after a year. Then the connection with the physical body is completely interrupted, which is already fallen into decay in a year. But there are exceptions. These are all those ghosts that people hear about. Sometimes they see them, even take pictures. This is a process when the connection with the body has not yet been interrupted. That is, a person has a connection with his deceased body, which is in the grave. When people are cremated, this connection is cut off instantly. But it is not a fact that a person cannot stay here in this dimension. If a material person leaves this world, attached to his wealth, property, gold, jewelry, apartments, houses, cars, etc., then this connection is not interrupted. That is, his subtle body remains here in this dimension and tries to continue to use these material things. That is, for example, it gets into the car if it likes the car. I know a young man who died at the age of 23. He loved to ride fast cars. In principle, he left this world through an accident, a catastrophe. He crashed in a car. But he loved this car so much that he came home to his father's garage and got behind the wheel of this car. Somehow he even managed to move the seat in this car. That is, he could not live without these cars. And when I talked with his parents, they said that he loved to ride so much and was very fond of fast driving. That is, he loved, as they say, to show off. And that led him to such a bad outcome in his life. But he remained and continued to be in this space. But I can tell you that they turned to me after a year had passed after his death. That is, it is clear that he did not move to another dimension. He remained in this dimension because there was a very strong attachment to this car. Here is a case from life. It is just a real example. So you see, my friends, it's not as simple as you think. How is it correct? I know that you want to hear from me what is right. I cannot tell you how to do it correctly, otherwise I will impose my opinion on you. I can tell you only one thing. The most correct thing is to live the right life here. To live life in the way as not to be afraid neither live nor die. Just look at the society in which people live now. They are afraid to live and die. That is, their lives are consumed with fear, and this in turn is ego, selfishness. And this in turn is a low-frequency dimension, and this in turn is hell. And when their time comes, their time to die, they plunge into this hell, and in this hell there are a lot of such souls now. And really, these low spaces are overcrowded now. You know, my friends, presently I observe a lot and see how people are immersed in deception now. Sometimes you may sit in some waiting room and hear what people are talking about, and you hear how they rejoice when they manage to find something for themselves that is not deceitful and illusory. That is, now it has become a great value for people to find something real, a real food product, really good friends, a real good job, to find something that is true, not deceiving. Can you imagine how far we've come? We have come to a complete deception, to a widespread deception, when people are no longer even ashamed of it. They are mired in this deception. Do you think this will just bypass them? And you think these people won't have to pay for it? They will be deceived in the same way. They will be used in the same way as they are using people in this world now. This is the all on which we strung their lives, and these people accumulated their lives. And then this reality will be manifested. If you can still change something here, then there you are in the process of what you have accumulated, what you have grown, what you have cultivated within yourself. Thank you. Next question. I want to summarize a few questions that came from different people. Now many different people watch the streaming, and there are people who are interested in it, but for some reason they express their dissatisfaction. For example, Lubava writes, "No one has come from there yet and said how it was there. These are human conjectures that are familiar to us. I see, Lubava, that you know how to use chat, which means you are not a newbie to the internet. Look on YouTube how many people are now who have just returned from there, and they talk a lot about it. Then you write, people go to study at now era, they will tell you everything and teach you how to work on yourself. You yourself will understand all this, and this topic will be funny to you as well as the author's answers. Well, I probably give the floor to the author, and from myself I will say that it is still fun for you, but when you are already on the verge with one foot, it will not be funny at all. You know, friends, I understand that none of us living on this planet can suit everyone. Why? Because there is good and evil. Because there are programs of egoism, programs of the mind, which have now almost completely possessed the consciousness of many people. I understand this, and I understand those people who write such things, those people who scold me. Yes, there are such people. Do you think everyone praises me? No, my friends. But I absolutely don't care whether you praise me or scold me. I don't care at all. I am doing this for humanity. I am fulfilling the task that I must fulfill here on the planet. Well, I can tell you, it's not you who write me. This is the program of the egoistic mind. It tries to do everything so that you remain at the level at which you are now. And it will do everything to keep you in the dark, so that you do not in any way believe it. If you believe it, its existence will end. And it understands that you, as its breeding ground, can cut off its various suction cups by which it connects with you like tentacles and feeds on you. I know it for sure, I know it. You too, in the depths of your soul, also know this. But this essence that sits on you doesn't give you the opportunity to feel it. It doesn't give you the opportunity to understand it. It whispers to you, tells you, convinces you, and you think that you are it. But you are the light of life. You are consciousness. You are eternal life itself. And regarding the fact that no one came back from there, I know such people. I even have students. By the way, a lot of such students come to me, and I'm sure that they are now watching this program. My friends, write to this woman, those who have returned from there. Write to her about what you saw, what happened to you. Is there life after death? I wish you enlightenment. I wish you all good. Do not scold anyone. It is not necessary, because you will also need to answer for this. Thank you. Next question. Valentina from Odessa asks, please tell me, do people who have died of cancer after death fall into low vibration states? Or maybe it is somehow different? You know, yes, they get into a low vibration state if they don't have help. If there is help, then they very quickly rehabilitate and recover. Then they rise to a certain level and they get relief. What the relief? You see all the knowledge that they have accumulated, collected. They are manifested in the state where they are in the flesh. That is, if here you are still in doubt about something, that's how Lubava. Then there are no doubts. First, you clearly understand that you are alive. You clearly see everything around you. You are clearly aware of this, even more acutely than you were aware of in this dimension. That is, some doubts are already dissipating, and the person understands that he is living. And if so, then all the other knowledge that he received, he understands that they are also real. He understands that they really exist, and this process of the eternity of life is continuous. And such people are very quickly rehabilitated and raised to higher levels. And there these people adapt and go through their stage of evolution very fast, even if they left in a state of such a disease, because there were reasons why they died of oncology. It means that they could not cope with something, with some state. So they took him there, and since it caused a cancer, it means that it was a low vibration, and you need to get rid of it. That's what I would say. And there are personalities who create rehabilitation processes. What are these rehabilitation processes? It is necessary for a person, through awareness and understanding, to come to the conclusion of certain processes, to realize and admit his mistakes, realize the wrong behavior or condition. And when this happens, a person very quickly rises to the higher dimensions and continues a wonderful life. Next question. Nastya from Britain asks, Natalia Vladimirovna, please tell me if there are any groups of souls. Once I had a dream that I met with a group of people after death. The feeling was that this was my family, but not earthly, some other. Is there something like that, or is it just a dream? The sensations were wonderful, a great feeling of happiness, love, and understanding that there is no need to be afraid of death. It is interesting to know if there are really any groups of souls, and if so, by what principles do they unite? Nastenka, there are such groups. Life in those dimensions is a group life, so to speak. On average, 10 souls are grouped into such specific communities. These souls are grouped into certain social states. For example, creative people try to live together. They try to show their creativity and demonstrate and be surprised at this creativity. Each has its own. That is, they realize their creativity. People who are engaged in some other process, such as construction or something else, that they like during their lifetime, they unite in their groups. Who are these groups? People who are similar in the inner state of consciousness, in the state of their world outlook and worldview, and of course, relatives, if they are present in the dimension where this or that soul is present. If a relative is already at a high level and the soul gets to that high level, then they meet and continue their stage of evolution. If the soul, which may have left even earlier but is in a lower dimension, and a person immediately falls into a higher dimension, then they cannot meet, you see. This cannot be said unambiguously, but the fact that they live in groups, it really is. They create their own little spiritual cells. For what? They are so interested, they are like a family of people who enjoy in understanding each other, in helping each other, in caring for each other, continue their process of being. You know, my friends, there really is happiness for such souls. If you only could see it, this is such a wonderful life in higher dimensions where these souls are conscious, kind, pure souls. If you only knew, this is really wonderful, my friends. A person needs to be good and correct here, to be kind and pure. Don't scold anyone, don't curse anyone, don't blame anyone for your mistakes in life. Don't do it. All you need is to understand yourself and find a way out of difficulties if you have them. That's what you need. But I understand that as long as there is good and evil, this is impossible. There will definitely be those who will curse everything and everyone, and there will certainly be those who will create the whole world. And that's great. Next question. I will combine the next question from many. People are wondering, maybe they missed or did not quite understand. They ask questions about accidents, disasters, heavy diseases, deaths of small children and adolescents. How is it determined that souls choose this moment? My friends, people who do not understand anything in life call processes accidents. There are no accidents. Any situation in life, any case is a consistent pattern. This is exactly the process that the soul has chosen. Your soul chooses to incarnate, and in the same way your soul can leave this body at will. This is its desire. It is thanks to your soul that you are here. Thanks to it you are running here, and different cases are created. It is the soul that gives life to your subtle bodies here. If it wants to leave this world, and it wants to, in the case when a person follows the wrong path of evolution, and the soul cannot fulfill the task with which it came, then it finds an opportunity, a case that you call unfortunate, to leave this body. Have you heard now? There are no accidents. Why do children live? Sometimes children die. Well, I'll tell you that there are two benefits for the soul. Do you know which ones? The first benefit for the soul, the most basic, the most serious, dying in infancy at an early age, such a soul has already comprehended many lives, learned a lot of experience. That is, the soul is developed, but it had no experience of death in childhood, and it chooses this process. But having chosen this process, often such souls immediately incarnate in other high spaces, planets, and dimensions at higher stages of evolution. They incarnate in the state in which they left here, I mean at that age, so to speak, and in the future their process of spiritual development continues, and there they become like angels. You know, my friends, I remember in my childhood I was always told that the children who died became angels. And I wanted to figure it out. And I figured it out. This is indeed the case. My friends, near the center of the Orion constellation, there are planets that are like kindergartens, preparatory schools, spiritual schools, where the souls of these children get in and continue to develop there. And these children are raised by the souls of people from this planet who did not have the capability to have their own children when they lived here on Earth. They have no such experience, so therefore they continue to raise and educate such children. On average, these are groups of 10 people, children of different ages. They raise children of different ages, and they have the opportunity to gain such experience, and children grow up to a certain spiritual development. They stay there until the age of 18 years. Of their time after that, being in a spiritual state of development, they are transferred to the more developed worlds of spiritual culture. But I will tell you that this is not the case with all children. Not with everyone. You will ask with what it happens, with what it does not. Often the second task or the purpose of the soul is to provide experience to parents who are living the wrong lives. This means through pain and suffering, through the pain of loss, through this torment. When parents lose their child, awareness comes. A desire to develop spiritually comes to such parents. When souls, spiritual personalities see that this family, a married couple, in any way can be pushed towards spiritual development, and this is the goal of all of you, then souls come who choose such parents. Souls come with their mission to die early in childhood. But they still play a second role, to serve as an impetus for the spiritual awakening of such parents, you know? That is, they play two roles. The first role is to gain experience in infancy. The second role is to provide an opportunity for parents to develop spiritually through suffering. And there is a third role. This is the opportunity to make such an evolutionary leap, to leave this planet forever and continue the stage of evolution on other planets in a different state and already having higher level of ascent. Do you understand? Having become a spiritual person and developed spiritual person, they understand that it is very difficult and complicated to achieve such a state on this planet as they can reach on those planets. They understand that they will need to reincarnate for several more lives and maybe many more. And then the souls of these children make a very serious leap up. They, dying here at a very early age, move to more developed planets, where they continue their ascension process. My friends, but as I told you before, each situation must be considered separately. You see, a human is so stubborn, so impenetrable. The space and spiritual personalities create so many clues for him, create life examples, processes, and dreams and situations. But human is impenetrable, and then of course such suffering and accidents happen. It is difficult for a human to awaken his spirit on this planet, very difficult. Therefore, the cosmos itself contributes to man in this through difficulties and complications and troubles. Thank you. Next question, Dina from Vinnytsia asks, Natalia Vladimirovna, it's been 3 years since my brother left for another world. His character and emotions during life were often destructive. I ask the God for the soul of my brother to receive another incarnation for the realization and correction of mistakes. The question is this possible? Will he have another incarnation? And in addition to this, here Lubava asks one more question. Please tell me, is there reincarnation? So these questions overlap. Lubava, you have such a wonderful name. Dinочка, I'll answer you. I know this process. It took place. I know all this. You know, I can say the following. At the moment, your brother has already passed the stage of rehabilitation and all stages of rehabilitation. Yes, first he got into a not very good world, not a very good space, but he went through the stages of awakening, understanding, awareness, and now he lives such a simple life. I can say that. A simple, interesting life. He understands that he once died, that he left his body, he understands that he lives on, he realizes that his life is not over, and you know, this interests him very seriously. So he would even like to share with other people, for example with you, with relatives, about how it is in that world. Sometimes you say that he comes in dreams and tells you about how it is there, about all these processes. This suggests that this awareness has come to him, and I'm convinced that you, as a knowledgeable person, helped him in this. My friends, if there are spiritually awakened people in families like you are in your family, you can pray for the souls of such people. As Ira from Khabarovsk asked if it is possible. It is possible, but only the one who is praying needs to be heard. And only the faithful and devoted person can be heard, and a spiritually developed person. His prayers break through this evil, this pressure, and these prayers have been answered. And they help people. Therefore, I am convinced that he will be embodied, because he already understood that life after death does exist, but he still needs experience, his soul needs experience. He wanted to learn a lot in this life, but played too much. He just could not appreciate it, and now he understands it. He understood his mistakes, and I am convinced that he will come more than once, and will come in order to still awaken the spirit that now continues to live in another dimension and another space. May he be fine there. Thank you. Next question, Alla from Odessa asks. Natalia Vladimirovna, it happens that a person does not live a completely correct life, but at the end of his life he tries with all his might to engage in spiritual development and be a spiritual person. What are his actions in spiritual development, and what efforts will be able to immediately raise him to high dimensions after death? Yes, my dear ones, a lot of people come to me in old age, and the audiences where I work, where I do my work, my courses, these audiences of elderly people ask me a lot of such questions. And this is understandable. They are already on the verge of this process, and they are very interested in this subject. Is it possible to fix if a person has done a lot, made a lot of mistakes? This is possible, my friends. What is needed for this? Realize your vices. Understand that these were vices. Forgive yourself, and after that forgive all people. Then, being in this state, you immediately rise to higher vibrations. You need to stop being envious, stop being greedy, stop worrying about money, how much money you have, how much you need, etc. I always say to such people, don't think about money, think about your souls. The money was, is, and will be, but will you exist? That's the question. But money can hold souls after death, and instead of a person immediately ascending to a higher dimension, he is held by these material things, by his money, and he cannot go into the further process of life, and he hangs between worlds, between spaces, and he doesn't have a physical body here, and he cannot do anything here, and he cannot rise into that space, because the attachments to money keep him. Do you understand? My friends, everything is very difficult. There are so many different nuances in this, so many different cases, a lot. It cannot be said about this that everything is just this and not otherwise. You need to analyze each case individually. But I recommend and advise you and wish you to rethink your lives. Forgive yourself and forgive everyone. You know, the Creator is merciful. You just do it sincerely. But how a person does? That's when people feel bad, they immediately think, oh God, help, help me immediately. Only helped, they immediately forget and continue to do the same. Do you understand? But you cannot do that. It's wrong. If you have already been helped from above, then be kind and help other people. After all, you have been helped, you were heard, so now you should act gratefully and help other people, and do not demand anything in return. Do you understand this? That's how to do things. The most important thing is to repent. I have had many, and there are many students who are already many years old, 70, 80 years old, and they have managed to free themselves from the past burden of vices. And now they live beautiful lives in a pure state and are not afraid of death. They are ready to come to it at any moment when the angelic trumpet of light calls them. Thank you. Next questions. Vitaly from Vinnytsia asks Natalia Vladimirovna, why do some people die in agony and some do not suffer?
У меня на глазах умер 16-летний брат, который утром умер, задыхаясь.
Well, why? You know, my friends, in your case, I see your situation. You come here and you bring with you 50% of the energy and information about life, about your fate from past incarnations. This means everything that you did not finalize, did not experience, did not understand, cheat and could not fix, you transfer into this life. And then, of course, you must go through it here. You must experience it. For example, if a person strangled other people in a past life, for example, how many people did the Inquisition destroy? If he choked morally, if he did it physically, no matter how he did it, and accumulated a lot of such destructive experience and conditions, he must atone for it. If he did not understand this and did not realize it, he must atone for it through such pain. But for the soul, this is liberation. That is, it freed itself, it realized how it is, it understood. But my friends, do not forget that in all these processes there are also the ego's body, the ego conditions, the ego entities, which makes such processes with people. And if a person lives life being a child, identifies himself with the essence, with this energy structure of the mind, and considers himself to be it, then it takes over him, and then it can't do anything with him. These essences, these intelligent beings, they are entities. They are incorporeal, they do not have physical bodies, but they control heavy energies, evil energies, and they communicate with each other, and they have a whole system of communication and work and interaction. This is like the evil that is present on the planet now. So they in turn cause painful conditions, painful feelings, and of course a person feels this on a physical body. When people leave this world, go out of their body, they can sometimes see these entities. Sometimes people who are experiencing some very serious trauma also unfold vision processes. They can also see these entities behind themselves. Zealand wrote a lot about them, and not only Zealand. Now there is a lot of information about this. Trust me, friends, they are really real. They are real, and they have created a whole serious system, and they really hate those who tell all this about them. And I know that too. But my friends, what to do about it? Do nothing. Just take it for granted, but raise your vibration so that you are not available to them. You don't need to fight anything. Any struggle creates the following struggle process. Just know that it is, and it is only because a person has evil in his mind and his spirit is undeveloped in this space. This is the only reason why it is so. The creative force for these entities is the person himself. And while this is so, as long as people feed them, raise them, they live in this world at this level. That's the fact, my dear ones. Next question, Vitaly from Odessa asks, Natalia Vladimirovna, please tell me, when a person reaches in his development the level of purification of his family line, after completing this task, the souls of his family line will rise to higher spaces? How the souls of the family line connect with it? Each soul is responsible for itself. Each soul has its own purpose. The only thing I can tell you is how you can help the souls of your loved ones, as you say, souls of the family line. When you grow in your development to a certain level and in your souls there is peace, fullness, purity, pacification, a state of joy, a state of nothing, a divine state here in this space, you open up the great power of the Creator Himself. And by having that power, that very force, like the vibration that comes from you, helps the people around you. Do you know? You can even go into some space, like some store or another, and the people around you who were annoying will calm down. They will fill up immediately. They will feel peace, they will feel that vibrations, do you understand? To reveal that energy, that light, that's actually my ultimate goal. My mission is to reveal that nature in you. If you succeed, then you are on top of life. And you can then, with that power, that state, help your loved ones. But first, by revealing it, you can help yourself. And then with that, you are going to do everything you can to help other people. Next question, Yana from France writes, Natalia Vladimirovna, Francis Farmer, the Hollywood star of the 1940s, experienced many insulin shocks and died from the experience of lobotomy. There were a lot of similar experiments on humanity. Did the soul choose this experience when it came? How do such souls experience when such experiments were carried out on their bodies? Will they decay after the quantum transition or will they reincarnate further? Well, Yanushka, I'll tell you, you have to look directly at the state of this man's soul, of this woman. But sometimes, when a soul is dead, it's already saying that maybe she did not agree with it. But sometimes, when a soul is dead, it's already saying that maybe it did not agree with it. In this case, I see the situation. It was a process chosen by her egoistic mind. It was ego who tormented her so much, so it drew from her this excruciating pain and condition. It was the soul that could not take it, which is why it left this space. Not always, as I told you at the beginning of the streaming, the soul does not always want the experience that the mind chooses. Don't forget that you have, in addition to your soul, an egoic mind that thinks, that feels, that also makes decisions, that tells you, whispers you, creates some conditions. So it lives, it is alive. This energy turns into essence. In the movie Cloud Atlas, there is one character, old Georgie. In this movie, the directors try to show this essence, which constantly whispers something to a person, helps to make decisions, prompts, convinces of something. This is that entity. So this is the essence that pushes the person into the wrong process of life, and that's when the soul chooses to die. The soul says, I can no longer, I don't want to be in this world anymore, I don't want to stay even in this body. So in her case, it was an egoic mind. So here's the case. The next question. I'll summarize a few questions. People ask questions about when people die in comas. Where do they go and how does it work? Do they remember family? And they ask a lot of questions about their relatives who committed suicide. Well, I see different answers to these questions, different answers. Let me summarize, my friends. You know, if a person dies in a coma is a process, a death process, a process of transition. What really matters is what condition a person was in when he fell into that coma. I mean, how he felt the last days, the last months, the last years of his life. How he lived these last states, how he felt. This plays a very important role in the afterlife. If a man was insane, then he would be insane in that dimension, in that space. If he was understanding, aware, spiritually developed, but fell into a coma, he would go and rise to very high levels. So you have to look at it individually. Regarding suicides, I can tell you that now this planet is so massively undergoing the process of suicide, unconscious process. It's one thing when a man understands what he's doing. For example, decides, I'm gonna die, go do something for myself, I don't want to live, or so on. Then at least he knows that. But when he does it every day and he doesn't realize it, and he doesn't even want to hear about it, it's called unconscious suicide. People who drink and smoke, who take drugs, who eat bad food, even though they know it poisons them, are people who walk out of this dimension in suicidal status. Of course, they live because of illness, and the only reason they have diseases is because they weren't careful about their bodies. They killed them every day, little by little, gradually, but they did it anyway. And then they got a disease that made the soul choose to leave this body. And that's the kind of person who goes in the status of a suicide. And of course, with that status, you will not envy him there. He is going to a place where there are all the same suicides as he is. Just as crazy, just as unconscious, just as incomprehensible in life when he lived here. Do you understand? And there are a lot of people like that now. So the purgatory in which these souls reside is overcrowded. There is a war going on for a piece of land, for a piece of space they are in. That's the madness of suicide. It is very difficult for such souls to get alive. Why? Because they rejected their past lives. They misused them. They killed themselves. They were looking for illusory, imaginary pleasures. And they served those pleasures. And so they rejected the evolution process. And to earn the next incarnation, the next life, is very difficult. Lubava asked about reincarnation. Does it exist? It exists. But the next life has to be earned. In fact, I'm going to tell you that when the process of selecting parents is going on, first, the process of creating a plan for the soul, for implementation, is what kind of task it's going with. Then the parents come up with this plan as far as they can play a role or they won't. Such parents must be chosen who can play this role. But there is always a choice, there is always multidimensionality of different realities. And you always change those realities with your choice, your attitude, you know? Quantum physicists say that if the butterfly had not swung on the other side of the Earth, there wouldn't be something on this planet right now. So it all depends on the choices of a lot of creatures, a lot of people, and you are all interconnected in this choice. It seems to you that there is a random encounter, a random event. There are no coincidences. Everything is a system, a working system of patterns. The other thing is, you don't always understand what it is, why you need this process, what the universe is telling you, what you need to realize. It's something people don't understand. They are quick at finding someone to blame. And that's an even lower level. I mean, the man didn't understand why he was given it, and he got the next click on his head. The next problem. So instead of figuring out why it happened, he is looking for someone to blame. He is blaming someone. My friends, this is a fall. This is the next fall, the next degradation. Never do it. Accept it and deal with yourself right away. As one spiritual teacher used to say, no me, no problem. Indeed, a person creates problems for himself. Thank you. We still have a lot of questions, so Natalia Vladimirovna, do not be offended. I will combine as much as possible. Irada from Minsk asks, Natalia Vladimirovna, is it true that the dreams of the righteous come true and that they are true? And then there is a question from Oksana from Kharkov. Natalia Vladimirovna, please tell me, in my dream come souls of people who will die the day before. These souls are asking for something or asking for help. I mean, the questions about dreams, the souls, how it's interconnected. My friends, dreams are not necessary for spiritual persons. Sleep is the most primitive vision. It's the most primitive clue. Any spiritually developed person, any saint, prophet, as you call them, a spiritual person, they get information directly from the highest dimension. They don't need to sleep for that. They rest in their dreams. And if they need to know something, see something, understand something, they simply make a request and immediately receive an answer. Yes, my friends, this is how spiritual persons are given information. But when a person is at the beginning of such formation and spiritual development, first spiritual personalities use dreams, give prophetic dreams, and in these dreams they give the person clues, information or something else. The souls that come Well, I'll tell you, yes, there are more and more people who believe that now, who understand that who can play a certain role. I think these people's souls just need help, and perhaps the task for people who still have physical bodies is simply to rethink their lives before living and repent, at least before death, to make it easier, at least later. Next question. The next question is from Anastasia in the Altai region. Natalia Vladimirovna, please tell me, if one person does bad to another, but their souls have agreed to this experience, then the person who did badly also goes to purgatory to realize and experience all the bad things he has done? Yes and no. You need to look at the situation. You need to see what task these souls have chosen. It is necessary to see whether it was an agreement or it was a trick of the egoic mind. It must be watched. If the trick of the egoic mind, the ego itself, this low vibration, this entity will drag a man down. If it was an agreement and people realized, were not offended, that is, they accepted this experience without offense, with understanding, having experienced this experience, then they rise higher. It all depends on awareness. If the ego does it in a person, it is one process. If souls do it by agreement, it is a different process. Thank you. We are going to finish. The last question came from Ludmila from Cambridge, from the United Kingdom. Natalia Vladimirovna, many people do not want to and even fear seeing their relatives after death. I want to communicate with them, for example, with my mother, but I don't succeed. I always sincerely admire your talent as a medium. How can I learn this? My sweetheart, you can learn this. How can it be learned? First, you have to discover and develop a very high level of sensitivity. And that in turn will require you to take very serious responsibility. Do you think it's easy for people like psychics to see and feel everything and everyone? Do you know what level of awareness, self-control you need to have? If you only knew how difficult it is, keep yourself in the right vibrations, at the right level, when you read everything and feel everything, and all discontent, all vices, all human processes, everything. You see all this. It's very difficult. You need to develop a high level of awareness and acceptance. In no case you should not be offended by anyone. They curse you, but you love them. They hate you, but you love. They praise you, but you love them as much as those who cursed you, you know? You need to develop such high independence, a high state of detachment. On the one hand, detachment, and on the other hand, oneness with everything. This needs to be worked out. There are practices and mechanisms for this. There are levels at which you grow, and there are the fourth, fifth, sixth steps of our studying. All the students who study or will be studying at them are all the people who will have this ability. But I have students who I have already taught this. In the 10 years of my practice, unfortunately, not one has yet completed the sixth stage. People are not ready for that yet. That's a very high level of awareness. I just told you that. They are training now, they are preparing for this highest level. But among them, there are already those people who can already communicate with their loved ones after they leave. They do it, and they tell very interesting stories about this communication. Very interesting. And I see how it is easier for these people, much easier. And such a unity comes with such souls. They realize that they continue to live. That's why you have to grow here. Your task now is to cope with your physical body, with your biological organism, to renounce all material attachments. Let nothing in this world hold you. Everything in this world is an illusion, only you are the reality. My dear friends, by the way, Ludочка, I've been thinking a lot about you today, a lot. Yesterday I thought, today you come to me, into my consciousness. And not even that I thought, I felt you. I had the feeling that you were talking to me, asking something, saying something. And I understand that you were doing it in your mind, in your thoughts. You were talking to me. And I can also say that you talk to me very often. My friends, this is the sensitivity I've been telling you about. I always feel my students, and not only. Sensitivity itself reveals these psychic abilities to you. But not only. It takes a lot of factors to be a medium. It takes a lot of things. The most important thing is to be a pure person. That's the most important. But let's finish. It was a very interesting subject, and believe me, I've only shown you a little bit of what I'd like to share with you. But that wasn't my goal. My goal is to do everything so that you are not afraid of death. And also, my good ones, I want you all to live conscious lives. If you knew how happy you would be in the state of consciousness, understanding, awareness, acceptance, the state of the nothing that holds everything within. You are the energy of eternal life. You will never die. You are life itself. I thank you for being with me. Thank you for the good and not quiet. I wish you all creation. Forgive each other. And do not be afraid of anything. You are the light of being. Until next time, my friends, I will be in Kharkov soon, very, very soon. I look forward to seeing you. I love you. Have a good evening.